few weeks ago, I was taking you all through my deadlifting routine. As promised, I've been working to improve my totals on deadlifts. Today, I'm going to update you all on the progress that I've made the last 4 weeks and give you a little bit of insight on some things that I learned throughout that journey. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. Just like in the last video, for my warm-up I was doing good mornings and making sure that I was really feeling a deep stretch in my hamstrings to make sure that they were warmed up. Alright, the good mornings are done. Hamstrings are feeling pretty good. I felt like my hip movement on that was also pretty fluid, so let's go ahead and warm up with some deadlifts, 135 to start. In addition to that, I also made sure to do a set of 135 and a set of 225 for about 4 reps, as you can see here. Alright, 135 moved pretty well as well, so let's bump it up to 225, see how that goes. Once that was done, I started with my first working set, which was 315 for 4 reps. However, I did switch this up from the last time because I only did one set of 315 to assure that I was feeling pretty fresh and ready to go for the heavier sets later on. I also made sure that there was a little bit more of an emphasis on creating more tempo between each rep, meaning whenever I would come up, I would put the weight down, pause, reset, and come back up. There was no set time between each rep, but I just wanted to make sure that I was keeping a good, consistent tempo. .315 went up way better than last time, as I'm sure you can tell. I had a longer pause between reps, which I think looks better and also activates more muscle. So we're just going to jump straight to 345 because I think that's going to help me preserve some of my energy for the heavier lifts later on. Once that was done, it was time to begin my next working sets, which was going to be 345 and 365, just like the last video. For 345, I was shooting for 4 repetitions. For 365, I was shooting for roughly 2 repetitions. Again, there was more of an emphasis on the tempo here to make sure that I was picking up, giving myself a second, putting the weight down and resetting instead of just kind of dropping the weight and picking it up using momentum. All right, it's time for 365. Let's get it. Nice tempo, good pause in between both reps. Then it was finally time to attempt 405. Now, if you watched my last video, you know that this didn't go well. All right, did a lot better. Getting the weight up that time. Feeling very good today, so we're gonna do 405. And if you remember my last video, that didn't go too well. So wish me luck. As you can see, there was a different result the second time around, and I was able to get it up. I mean, it was a little bit longer than I would have liked it to be, but for the most part, I was happy with the overall form and way that I was able to get the weight up. And so with no time to waste, I took a full 6-minute break to attempt 415. I mentioned it in my last video, but I wanted to lift 415 for at least 1 rep because that was my previous PR and I felt like it was achievable. It was kind of like regaining the strength that I previously had. Well, there it is, 405 for 1. It went up a lot slower than I was kind of hoping it would, but we got 415 next, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. We're gonna see how it goes, but I think a little bit more momentum, just a little bit more power in the beginning of the lift will really go a long way. As you can see, I was able to get it up. Although there is one thing that I would say I wish I would have done a little bit better, which is hold it a little bit stronger at the top of the lift, kind of like I was able to for 405. But let me know what you all think down in the comments. Is that a rep or not? In my opinion, if you're able to get it all the way up, then it should count, but I can understand why some people would say that it's not. I'm gonna call that a win. I'm not gonna lie though, I would have liked to have held that a little bit stronger at the top, but I got it all the way up. And what I mean by that, by the way, is that I wish I would have just stood more firm for a little bit longer at the end of the lift, but I'm gonna count that. So let me know what you think down in the comments, but we're gonna say that I tied my PR today, which is great, but we're not done yet. We're gonna go for 425, see how it goes. So if you've been keeping track, I've attempted 5 total sets on deadlift. And like my last video, in this one, I attempted a 6 set. This time it was 425. This is a weight that's kind of been plaguing me for the last couple of years, and it's something that I feel like I should be able to lift, so I figured why not give it a shot. We're rested, why don't we show you the weight breakdown. We've got 5, 5, 10, 10, 25, 45, 45, 45. The 45 plates are different sizes because I got them from 2 different places and they're 2 different companies, but it's 45 pounds. And unfortunately, that didn't pan out. Well, not today, but next time that shit's going up. And if I'm being 100% honest, you can probably tell that I was a little bit discouraged. After 6 years of lifting, I feel like this is an achievable weight and something that I probably should have already hit from a milestone perspective. But honestly, a part of that's probably because I do compare myself a lot to the people that are on social media, and since I am trying to attempt to stand up a social media account here, I feel like I should be able to at least compare to the standard that's set forth by other natural lifters. So I don't want to make any excuses, and honestly I do feel like I should be able to get that weight up, but we'll see what happens in the future. With this now done, here are my takeaways for the last 4 weeks and some things that helped me and some realizations that I ended up having. Over the last few weeks, like I mentioned before, I've been really focusing on the tempo of my lifts, meaning that once I lift, give myself a second to hold at the top, put it back down, and reset my deadlift. I also changed up my rest times for each set. The first 3 sets, I gave myself 3 minutes of rest time between each set. Then on my 4th set, 5th set, I gave myself about 4 minutes. This is a little bit shorter than what I was previously doing. If you remember from the last video, on my last 3 sets, I was giving myself about 5 minutes of rest time. I felt like this was a better path forward because it allowed me to have a little bit more time to kind of just sit down, recover, and give my body a little bit of time to recharge. And on my last set, I gave myself about 6 minutes. And this was because I was trying to, make sure that I was well rested and make sure that, again, I was able to be recharged, but also because it was a PR, I was hoping that that extra time would help me get it up. Takeaway number 3 was kind of a small one, but something that I learned years ago. And this is to make sure that instead of having my feet in a neutral position, to poke my toes out a little bit out to the side. Now this doesn't have to be so exaggerated, but it's something that helped me lift, and it's something that has helped me in the past couple of years when I'm attempting to do PRs. And of course, you could give it a shot as well and see if it works for you. I'm not saying it works for everyone, but it's something that works for me personally. Takeaway number 4 would probably be that the reason I didn't get the 405 last time was because I've been focusing a lot more on hypertrophy and staying a little bit leaner than I have previously. I used to cut and bulk a lot, and whenever I cut down this last time, I feel like I kind of just maintained for a while. You can probably tell the way that my physique looks over the last year or two. It really hasn't changed a ton, and if it does change, it's usually water weight or something along those lines, but I typically stay between about 163 pounds to 168 pounds, not a crazy amount of weight gain. And so with that said, I was training a lot more hypertrophy as opposed to strength training, true strength training for the purpose of hitting heavier weight. Getting back into this the last few weeks, I realized that having that base of true strength-based training really helped me push myself back to where I was a few months ago. And number 5, last but not least, of course, I think one of my issues is that I haven't been pushing myself as hard as I thought I was. Previously, I thought I was pushing myself hard, but I think a lot of the times we get into a rhythm of doing the same thing over and over again, and before we realize it, we get into a little bit of a rut. And because of this, I feel like my numbers aren't where they should be, and that's probably got something to do with why I'm a little disappointed in the final PR attempt. I think being able to regain this strength in such a short period of time was really humbling. It made me realize how much I'm really leaving on the table when it comes to potential gains and strength. Now, with all of that said, I do have to say that I am pretty proud of myself for being able to add about 50 pounds to my last previous video, and it does feel good to kind of get back into the rhythm of things from a strength gaining perspective. However, like most people, I still believe that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I haven't quite hit my ceiling. So with that said, I'm going to be starting a new series here soon, and if you want to learn more about that, be sure to subscribe, because next week I'll be coming out with a video explaining what that is. So be sure to tune in next week, and until next time, keep it together.